let's start with, the first part of it is motivation. Why do we need to study statistics and things like that? Why do we need to do data analysis is the first part. So I have a quote, continuous improvement is better than delayed perfection. Do you know who said this? It's one of you guys, in the sense, your team, your company. Okay? Your CEO, Sri Sachin Jindal ji. So he has this tweet. I went to his tweet account and just got it from his tweet account. Every Monday he has this motivation thing he does in every Monday. So this is from you. So what does he mean by continuous improvement is better than delayed perfection? Basically, you need to see that you have to improve yourself, not just from the training part of it, but from statistics and data. How do I do continuous improvement? The only way to do continuous improvement, whether I'm improved or not, is to get measured. So the next tweet is basically what gets measured gets managed, right? So how do I do improvement? I measure it. How do I measure it? Only when I measure, I can manage whatever data I have in terms of, it could be from JSW Steel, JSW Cement, JSW Steel, whichever team you're coming from, right? So it needs to be first measured before you can get managed. And how do I measure it? So basically, Peter Drucker is a very famous management guru. If you're into management, you'll know that, he gave you the 5 principles of management, I think. So he's a very famous Harvard professor. So the next one is Dr. Rao says, statistics is technology finding the invisible and measuring the immeasurable. So how do you measure it? You use statistics to measure it. So that is how you measure this. And Dr. Rao is also a very famous statistician. So finally, fine, so what? What is from a business perspective, because end of the day you guys are in business, right? What does it mean to basically invest in statistics? So Dr. Welch, John Welch, who's CEO said, $1 invested in statistics. And GE is a big company, just like JSW, they have a lot of things. They have GE Steel, they have all different kinds of companies. They said, every dollar I've invested in statistics helped me get back $1.08, which is basically an 8% return, is what on an average he's saying. So there is investment in statistics. It's not like purely, what statistics. Please come in. This one is available, or you can sit somewhere there. So this is what, I apologize for this thing because the screens we have in Insofi are big. So automatically it comes in one screen, but here I think it's taking a thing. So I have a few slides just to talk about what statistics is, what to do. So basically another one, so one of the things, as you know, every year annual steel report comes out, right? And global steel report that says, what had happened. So this year when the steel report came up, suddenly, they saw that there was a huge increase in the scrap iron for China. They didn't realize what to do. Why is it that's happening? So then when they did the statistical analysis, they found that there's a lot of factories that were shut down in China, and hence that all that scrap material, they were using it for other factories, and hence that the world report, there was a lot of scrap material for China. So things like that, which are real examples, is what statistics can be used for. And we'll go through a lot of examples in our next session to understand how it can be used for. Why study statistics, right? Statistics are part of your daily life, everything around you. So we'll take a few examples. First thing is elections. So, and since it's already election season, election is coming around, right? They do these surveys, they do this, and they come to you and ask you, hey, what is this? Why is it? What terms of polls? They do all these polls and everything, which is completely based on statistics. It's nothing magic there. And we'll go through it and say how they do it and everything. So it's basically based on statistics. Second, so the most important thing is, and this is, Mark Twain or Benjamin Disraeli says that, there are 3 kinds of lies. Lies, damn lies, and statistics. And it is why, let's go through it, So there is a joke I have, right? Because you can turn statistics any way you want. So basically a guy goes to a doctor and says, will I survive this operation? He says, yeah, sure, you'll survive this operation. How will you say that? How can be sure? Because 9 out of 10 times people die in this operation. Yesterday patient was my 9th patient, so you are the 10th patient. So logically you die, you will survive. But will you go to the doctor? But statistically he's right? Because 9 patients out of 10 die. Yesterday was my 9th patient who died. You are my 10th patient. Statistically he's right. So that's why he said, lies, damn lies, and statistics. You can turn it any way you want. So you have to be very careful when you get a result. How do you turn it and everything? So why study statistics? Right? There are 4 parts of statistics. One is data gathering. Second thing is data understanding. Third one is data analysis. And fourth one is data presentation. Each one of them, let's go through and understand what it is. The first thing is data gathering. What is data gathering? right? So I have taken an example. This is the 2014 elections, and you have to be very careful because the thing is, you gather the wrong data. Completely everything after that is wrong, because once you start working from a wrong data, it is like it's a chain reaction. Then everything else is wrong. So once you have a wrong data, anything analysis you do is wrong. So let's take this example. So for example, this is what the Election Commission gave actually in, basically it says for every election it says, and says date of the poll 30th April. Where it is happening, DU Daman, Goa, it's happening in Goa, DU Daman, it's happening, fine. This is from a newspaper called Deccan Chronicle, which is south in Hyderabad. So what it says is this, and it has published this in big letters, right, everything. So as you can see, the date is 30th April. This April, it has been published on 24th, actually this published it. So what they have said is how many female and male they have voted. The election has not even taken place. They've already said in Daman 50% of female have voted, 40% of male have voted. How can you say somebody is voted when the election itself has not taken place? And this is in big, nothing small. So we said, okay, so you have to be very careful how you represent data. So we said, okay, so maybe there is a problem. So what I did was we went into this in actually what is female and what is male. So I went into the actual, the details of it. And one of the things I saw was actually when they are saying that they were 50% female and 49% female, it is not the people who voted, but the people who registered. But they don't say that, they just say people who voted. When the election itself has not taken place, how can you say people 50% have voted? So next what we did was, so basically they're saying what is the percentage of female. Next he said, okay, that's fine. And this is what the percentage of people have voted in the 2020 election, okay. Then I said, is this a rising trend? So actually the ratio reflects the registered voters, not the actual voted people. So then we said, okay, when we actually did the analysis, because this newspaper said, there's a huge increase in women's vote. If you look at the trend actually for the people, female voters, actually the trend is coming down. It's not even going up. So this information is totally useless to you. So you have to be careful how you present information. You have to be careful what information you present and how that data did you obtain from. The next data presentation. First of all, given an opportunity, please don't use pie charts. This is my recommendation because most of the time it's useless. This is again 24th thing, Mumbai, Maharashtra elections. Basically, this is again from NDTV. 288 is the total number of seats in Maharashtra. So what they're saying is the big ones are the male MLAs, the small ones are the female MLAs. So basically for BJP, they're saying 110 are the male MLAs, 12 are the female MLAs, total 122, correct? Now let's take SS. SS stands for Shiv Sena. 61 females, males, perfect. There is no females. What happened to the females? Did they resign? Nobody knows, right? This is NDTV presenting. Next, let's take NCP. They say 37 males. No NCP. Again, big organizations do this. This is not small organizations. Similarly, Congress, they say 35 out of 42. 6 females. 35 plus 6. So what happened to the one more MLA? Did they resign? Did she resign? I have no idea. So they said this is not good enough. So they came up with another chart, which they said 257 males and 31 females. Yeah, if you add up, it comes to 31. So pie charts are good for representing, this. Tomorrow we'll do a lot more about data visualization and everything. Then they said this is not good enough. They started doing this. They did bar graphs. In the bar graphs, if you take a look at it, right, they say 122 total. Which if I just see this bar graph, I don't know how many male, how many female. I know the total. If I add this up, it doesn't come, it comes to 278. So be very careful in the data presentation. The reason I'm telling you be careful is you guys are all in the managerial rank, right? When you present data to your seniors, you may know the data well, but the guys sitting on the other side may not know the data as much as you do. Second, most of the times when you write reports, chances are you'll not be there when the report is read, right? So your data should speak for you. This is very important because the moment they start suspecting one part, they'll start suspecting your entire report, irrespective of how much hard work you guys have put into the report. Because nobody knows the hard work. Everybody sees it's a finished product. Nobody checks your hard work. Nobody knows what amount of data you've put in and presentation. So take an extra minute, and this is very important that you take an extra minute to check what you guys are presenting. Data presentation, we'll do that tomorrow, a complete class, but it's very, very critical that you spend a lot of time on this. Especially the moment you are in manager ranks and you're going to the next level, this is very important that you do it because most of the times when your data is read or your reports are read, you guys won't be there to your senior management. And once they start suspecting and they don't like something, they start suspecting the whole report, and you might have spent hours or days working on that. So data presentation is a very important part of it. The next part of it, I'm just telling you how they present data, right? Solar tariff crashes below grid power cost, okay? And since you guys are in JSW Power, you guys, I think, know this pretty well and everything, right? So if this is the headline, right? And they're saying, so what I would expect is, I would expect here the prices of every other power, like, what is the coal price? That's not they're saying. They're saying amount of coal being produced, amount of large hydel being produced. What has that to do with the headline? I would like to know what is my grid cost. It falls below means I have to read the entire article, then I'll understand what's the grid cost. Then why do I need this? Has no meaning. And these are all from big newspapers. And again, I don't want to name every newspaper, but these are all from big newspapers. Same thing. Mexico is the second deadliest conflict zone. Okay, fine. But they have whole Latin America here, out of which they say 58.9% is Mexico. So do you expect me to do the math? When you present data, do you expect your seniors to sit there and calculate? You have to present the data, right? When you are saying it's the second biggest, you have to say first Syria, second, Mexico. I'm just making it up. Why do you have to? It looks pretty. Obviously, there are nice charts, but why do you need this? When the information is not been corrected, why do you need this? So there are a lot of examples like this, and I will go through a few examples just to say how statistics has to be represented, and then we'll go to the actual statistics part of it. So it's very critical that, it doesn't make a difference that you have to make it pretty. Pretty is important, but facts is more important than pretty. Next, another one. Cops shift focus, 50% dipped in cases. So if you read this, I was very happy. And this is about Bangalore, Hyderabad. So I'm very happy. Oh my God, police are doing a good job. But if you read the article, that is not what it is. What the cop they're saying is, initially they were going after crimes. Now they stopped going after crimes. Now they're going after traffic violation. And hence there's a 50% drop in the other crimes. Yeah, because the police are not catching them. Obviously, the police are not catching them. So if you cops shift focus, 50% dip in cases. But if I just read this because in the morning I was late, I would have think, my God, the police is doing a great job. But that's not what it is. They just shift. Now, more important, do you wear a helmet or not? Whether you do a crime, that's a different question. So, statistics don't lie. So what are the four things? Data gathering, very critical. Data understanding, very critical. Data analysis, you need to interpret the data the right way so that everybody can understand. Finally, data presentation. We're going to have an entire session tomorrow on this. But these are the four important critical points that you need to do. That's it. It doesn't work well here. Okay, that's fine. So these are the 4 points we'll need to do. So next, let's actually start with statistics. Any questions or comments, guys, before I start? So it's very critical that you understand the data, present the data, and then present it in a way that everybody can understand. That is the message that you need to take in the first section. Let's start with, basic statistical terminology. Couple of them you already must have read, but let's take it through and let's see what we do. The first thing we talk about is called population and sample. What is population and what is sample? Population means it is the entire set of data that you're considering. So for example, if I do a census, what is the population? Population is the country. If I have to say how many females are there in this room, what is my population? The people sitting in this room, right? If, for example, I want to say, how many people are, let's say, working in technology in JSW, then I'll just take the population of people who are working in JSW. So population is always relative. Population means the entire set of data that I'm interested in. For a census, it could be the country. For other things, it depends on what the population is. Next thing is sample. So what happens generally in life, and even when you guys, and we'll teach you how to do a data analysis, you will never have the entire data set, right? You'll only have a sample. I wish I had the entire data set. That would, but you'll never have it. Even for example, let's say you're working for the steel plant or something, you will get a snapshot of the data. Maybe you'll have data for the last 5 days, maybe you'll have it for the last 1 year, but you'll never have it from the day, so you'll never have the population. You'll always have a sample, which means to say a sample should be a good representation of your population. Which means to say, in this case, for example, I have male, female, female and female. So basically, a sample should be a good representation of your population. So it has to have a good representation of the population. If not, there's going to be a problem. So population is the entire data set. A sample is a representation of the population. Same words in English, nothing different, but that's what we say. Most of the times we work with samples. We never work with the population. Luckily, if I get one sample, forget 10 samples. If I get one sample, I'll be lucky. But that's how data science is about. You take one sample and you try to make a prediction of the entire population. Either it could be your blast furnace, either it could be the amount of chemicals because we are working with a couple of US based large US steel companies, same thing with cement companies. We get 1 or 2 samples and then we make the chemical composition, we make prediction about the things like that with a few samples. So let's take an example, right? And then we'll go to the steel examples and everything. So for example, let's assume that you have a basketball team. I ask you to basically one thing I can tell you. So basically I'll tell you, go measure the heights of people in this office. What you can do, maybe let's say assume you have a basketball team, just like that. If you go measure all the players of the basketball players, is that a good representation of the height of the people in this office? No, right? Similarly, let's assume, these guys are basketball players and these are the cheerleaders, just like anywhere else, right? So these are the heights. So if I ask you to take the height of this, for example, right? If I ask you to if you go and say, I'm lazy enough, I'll just go take the height of the basketball players. The average height will be 6'3", 6'4". Do you think that represents the height of the campus, right? No way, right? Similarly, so for example, or if I just take the height of the, the cheerleaders, obviously the height will not be thing. So I would like to take a sample, or maybe I go to every department in the university. This is from University of Kentucky, or maybe here. The best way I would do it is, I would sit in your canteen, right? Everybody comes to the canteen. I would just take the average height of people come in the canteen. I would get the average height of I get a sample, and from that sample I can say what's the average height of the population working here, right? So that is very important that you take the height correctly. So this is basically to say how to take the sample. You have to be very careful how do we get the sample, and this is a very important way of telling you how do I get a sample. Next, 2 things, census and survey. Census means gathering data from an entire population of interest, okay? And that could be, for example, elections or 10-year census, that thing. Survey, gathering data from a sample in order to make conclusions. So basically what we do is, whenever we use the word census, it means to say we are taking the entire population. Whenever we use the word survey, we means to take gathering sample in order to make conclusion about the population. Initially, I'm going to set you up with all these definitions so that later in the class, when I do this population survey, you need to understand what I'm talking about. So census is basically, I'm gathering information from the entire population. So example, I will do a 10-year census, and hence census is always once probably. Survey means, for example, I'm sure before this your HR must have sent a survey, who's interested in this class. So she sent to a limited people. I don't think she sent it to now. So that is a survey. You do a survey to find out who's interested in this class and things like that. So basically we're gathering data from the sample. Example is an opinion poll. So basically what you do, opinion polls, what they do, they go and ask 10 people who are coming on, basically on. And also you have to be careful, right? If I just go and ask you guys, the opinion poll, whom you're going to vote in the next election, you guys might be tilted towards one party A, party B, party C, doesn't make a difference which party. Whereas if I go out and ask a lot of different people, I get a different sample for it and a different understanding. So it's very important that from a survey and a census perspective, that who do we talk to? So obviously there is a lot of massive surveys done ahead of polls. So basically they do a audit surveys. Why do they do this surveys? How do they do this surveys? Basically what they do for each constituency, KCR is from Andhra Pradesh, but doesn't make a difference. It could be Shiv Sena or anybody. They go to each constituency. They have some developmental indexes. First thing is, have the roads been built? So they take that from a common man. They see how many, what amount of funds have been spent. Third thing is they go and ask the opinion polls of a lot of people there in that constituency to understand, what type of that. And that is what basically survey is all about. Basically, you need to understand what it is, and it's very important that you take the right survey. So another example which is talking about, right? There's a recent study that actually had happened here. And this is what it is they're saying is, it depends on how you take the look at India's population. So what had happened, they had done 3 surveys. One survey they had done in Mumbai with the educated class. Second thing, they had gone to a rural village and done a survey. Third thing, they had done in a survey in basically in predominantly south versus north. What they found is, when they go and do a survey among only the educated class, right, and mostly the people who are professionals, most of professionals, and again I'm not, most of them have 1 or 2 kids, right? So the projection is completely different of what the population is going to be. You go to a different section and do it, and let's say the average is 4 kids, they get a different projection of what my population is going to be, right? And again, this is not a rule that every professional will have only 2 kids, but on an average I'm talking about, right? Similarly, if I go north versus south, the population is increasing more in the north compared to the population increase in the south. So if I just take south and do it, so it's very important that, highly overestimated, they say, because the survey was done predominantly in the north. And they said India's population is going to be X or India's population is going to be Y. So these are examples of how do we need to do survey, what do we need to do in terms of, estimation and things like that. If you have any questions or comments, guys, just raise your hands, please ask me, okay? There is nothing that it should not be I like two-way conversation. This is not a I study and you listen kind of a thing, right? Any questions you have, please ask me. And just raise your hands, or if you don't want to raise hands. Second thing I really recommend is, if you put your phones in mute, I would really appreciate it, so that it doesn't disturb everybody else.